Here this evening. Welcome everyone to the May 2nd meeting of the Hopewell Borough Council. I'll call this meeting to order and
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by notice now for Hopewell Valley News and the Trenton Times, posted on the bulletin board in Borough Hall and filed with the Borough Clerk as required by law.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Ms. Hook. Here. Mr. Mackey.
Here.
Ms. McCullough. Here. Ms. Steeler. Ms. Weaver. Here. Ms. Lennox. Here.
The first items we have on our agenda are the report of Public Works Director and our Water and Sewers Director. If anyone has any questions or comments, try to direct them to Doug at this time. If not, we'll move on. So those you remember perhaps from last month's meeting, we will be for the foreseeable future carrying a reoccurring item for the potential sale of our water system in each of our meetings. So there'll be meetings where we have things to announce and discuss in particular, ones where we have less so, but we will feature on our agenda each month a placeholder for it, just as a reminder that we're both taking questions and we'll be having updates. As I imagine, and I hope that everyone here who's a borough resident or a water customer received a postcard about a meeting that is happening on the 13th. I hope that everyone is available to come. We will be starting, as we talked about at our last month's meeting, a process to explore the potential sale of our water system on the borough's website, as directed from our postcard, which appreciate everyone who helped get that out. It was I'm not gonna say unprecedented, but we want to make it clear that we think this is very important and that getting everyone's input and eyes on this process is extremely important to everyone here at the borough. But it should direct you to the borough website water page, which has copies of the reports that we've received so far. The formal notice for the meeting on the 13th, that's a Monday, will be both by Zoom and by in person here as well, where we will be talking about the first steps of that process, which is determining whether certain emergent conditions that will allow us to enter the Water Infrastructure Protection Act program. That is one of the paths for the potential sale of the water system. We will be keeping updated information on that website, which is Hopewell Borough /nj.us/water. That will be the kind of common landing place where we will put everything that we have throughout this process. Best our consultants and professionals have told us, it's at least a year for us as a community to get through to the point where we'll be making a decision about whether selling makes the most sense. And on the 13th, we will be, again, taking some of those first steps to allow us to consider those options and talking about some of the reasoning behind really everything that we're doing to try to control water costs. Another update I'll have, and then I'll yield to the rest of the water committee if they have any other updates. But we, in addition to what we talked about last month, continue to pound the pavement. We met this week with NJDEP representatives from Board of Public Utilities, from the IBank, as well as the governor's office and our representatives in the 15th district. All are working with us to try to find solutions to control these costs. You have our commitment that we will continue to just turn every stone until we find something and land at the solution that's best for our community. And again, I think the 13th will be recorded and available for those who can't come, certainly, but we're inviting everyone that can make it to join us by Zoom or in person. Krista, David, anything else you'd like to add from the water committee's perspective?
Well, not now. I have some things to add during the committee report, but yeah.
Thank you.
I think you pretty much covered it.
We're also cognizant and timing these updates at our meeting with the first public comment and question session. So right now, I'd like to open the meeting first to those here in person of the public to come up and ask any questions or make comments. And then after we've exhausted in-person people, we'll open up to those available on Zoom. And if you're on Zoom, and you want to push the raise hand button, that will signify to us that you might be wanting to be called when that time comes. So with that, open the floor to the public.
I have a comment on a different issue.
You're welcome to comment on any issue. Come on up to the front and do so.
Okay. I've never done this. Let's see everybody. Okay. I'm, as a merchant, I'm here to add my comments to the discussion of
Yeah, just
parking.
You can give your name.
What's your name?
We'll just let limit the comment back and forth, but if you just give your name for the record and just.
I'm
without
Amy
speaking.
Fishman, and
Thank you.
I own the Bear in the Books, the store in town. And I'm here to talk about the parking regulations, because they're important to a lot of us. My understanding is that there's a 200-foot parking exclusion that extends from Mercer Street corner to include the entire front of the old school meeting house. And I've heard that there's on table a request to shorten that to 100 feet, as I believe it has been actually for a while. Shortening that no parking allotment is very important to people who work and live on Broad Street. And I can see no reason for having that no parking zone extend to include the front of the meeting house. That parking area is crucial to shoppers, to merchants themselves, and to residents, especially during shopping hours. There's very limited parking on the other side of the street. I've heard that the meeting house worries that they will need space open for special events and for construction purposes. And I believe that could be easily arranged with special signs for use during these events. We do this, for parades. And, there could be signs and cones, no parking parade, funeral or whatever, or construction vehicles only. And I would imagine that parking would be needed if there was a special event. I can see no reason to have a permanent restriction on parking on that area, which would do much harm to many of us when the space might be specially needed by the meeting house only occasionally. And those needs could be accommodated. I don't understand why this structure merits special treatment to decide this issue. And I urge you to agree to reduce the restrictions on parking on the north side of Broad Street so that there would either be a 2-hour limit in effect in front of that meeting house, or so that there would be no restrictions beyond 100 feet from the Mercer Street corner. We can't afford no parking in front of the meeting house. It's, their needs are occasional, our needs are very serious and every day. And we could meet their occasional needs. So.
Thank you for your comment. I'll just say, I think from our perspective, from my perspective,
I'm sorry.
from my perspective, thank you for your comment. Second, I will say that you have our commitment that we will certainly be studying this issue before making any changes like that. I think you're reacting to something that was said perhaps at our last meeting. They have comments like you do, none of them are being acted on yet. And I'll commit to you, like we did to them, that I don't think there's any rush to make changes that might adversely affect businesses in particular before they're studied and everyone is involved. So
I feel like this is the support that the merchants in our town need from all of you, and I'll welcome it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else in person interested in making a comment this evening or question? We do have, I believe, 9 people. one of our council people might have been expecting to see. I'll confirm that.
Okay.
But I don't see, any hands up. So last call for hands for online Zoom folks to make questions or comments. Again, there will be a second time later this evening. I'll say seeing none, I will, ask for a motion to close public comment.
I'll second.
All in favor? All right. Next item, we have two sets of minutes in our packets, both the regular and executive session from our April meeting. There's any,
I just found one quick correction in the regular minutes. At the bottom of page 1, actually, the paragraph that starts with Chris Provenzano, it said they have concerns about a proposed no parking zone in front of the meeting house. In fact, I think they have concerns about allowing parking in front of the meeting house. Because if there is a no parking zone there, when there's not a proposed no parking zone.
got it.
It's just, yeah, it's just like.
Do we have a motion perhaps with that change?
What,
So,
Just to make it a parking zone.
yes.
they said they have concerns about allowing.
It's currently apparently a no
It
parking.
is currently, there is currently a no parking zone in front of.
So I will make those changes.
Yeah,
So-
that's it.
Happily entertain a motion then with that change.
I'll
All right, second.
Second.
All right, all in favor? So I entertain a motion for the omnibus, both regular and executive session, just to confirm. Thank you. Next, we have, and just to highlight for those either watching from home or who download our agenda from the website, you'll see item 8 has a link there. That if you were at home or reading this online, you could click that and get to the part of our website that has the ordinances to follow along as well. Copies are in the back of the room for those of you who are here in person. We have several second readings and public hearings for ordinances coming up. Again, we just had public comment, but for each of these, there will be a public hearing and public comment opportunity for each of these ordinances. So with that, item 8, ordinance 882. Reggie, if you could,
An ordinance replacing chapter 19 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Hopewell, 1975, as amended and entitled Stormwater Management.
Doug, and we had an explanation bit last month. Any other comments you'd like to make about these changes, most of which are in the mandatory nature?
Yes, this was an ordinance that had to go to the board, to the planning board to be approved. To say that it was not inconsistent with our master plan. Planning board approved that last evening. I also sent out the memorandum from the planner confirming, saying that her findings. So we'd like to go ahead and get that approved. We have to get it down to the state, so on a tight deadline. We got to send it to the county. They have 45 days to review it. We already sent them a copy so we could get their input. So we hope to streamline that a little bit and then get it down to the state to meet our deadline.
So I want to just point out, so I think a key change in this, or at least the one I think is the most significant, is there were a number of elements of information that was required, for example, for a minor development in terms of surveys and other physical information. And a lot of those things were optional in the previous version, and now those things are mandatory. So for example, if you have a minor development, which is triggered by greater than 1,000 square feet of new impervious cover, you have to provide a topographic map that actually shows what the terrain is, for example. And before that was essentially optional. So I see that. Would you agree that's?
Yeah. The thrust is to stop, to control stormwater.
Right.
We have a lot of situations in town where, depending on the elevation, the low side being negatively impacted by some of the development. So this is a method or a procedure or an ordinance to try to help us better manage that.
Yep.
Great. Like to open the meeting to the public to discuss this particular ordinance. Seeing no one coming up in person, any hands online? We'll use the raise hand button. Seeing none there either, I'll take a motion to close meeting to the public.
So move.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Next, entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 882. I'd like to move it. Second?
Second.
All right. Roll call.
Ms. Hook,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. McCullough?
Yes.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Next, we have item 9, ordinance 883, second reading and public hearing.
Bond ordinance providing for phase 1 and phase 2 of the Hart Avenue project in and by the Borough of Hopewell and the County of Mercer, New Jersey, appropriating $1,104,828 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,104,848 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Right there. Doug, anything you want to add to this one?
We discussed it last time, but I'll just bring it up again. We have DOT grants totaling $693,598 to be put towards this project. We're gonna try to accomplish this project this year. We have some final engineering that we have to complete, but our goal is to make every effort to get this work done this year.
So
I have
our,
a question about the Hart
Okay.
Avenue project.
Yeah.
So it was my understanding that is it the entirety of Hart Avenue that's going to be repaved and it's gonna be done sort of piecemeal, like in phases, correct?
No, we
Okay.
applied for grants in phases.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay, but we're gonna attempt to do the entire road this year.
Okay, thank you.
this is phase 1 and phase 2. So our part of this after receipt of the grants is roughly $411,000. That's the part that we're basically, where it becomes part of our debt.
Right, exactly.
The rest is covered by the municipal grants.
Right.
About 37%. Typically, it's about a third that we end up covering from these things, and 2/3 roughly the
Yeah,
funding for.
yeah, this is perfect, so
Yeah.
it's a big help.
And Doug, I know it's a lot of steps to go before there are milling trucks arriving, but rough, both estimate of when this might happen and then what we'll be doing to kind of let, the residents know.
Yeah, we're probably looking at September.
Okay.
Before we begin work, because like I said, we have to finalize the engineering. We gotta send it down to the DOT for them to approve the engineering. And then we need to go to bid. And then, all the steps that happen after we accept the bid. So September, maybe into October.
And then,
We've had very good weather though, the last 6 or 7 years.
The fact that you just said that.
Yeah, we used to, years past, we would pretty much be done paving in October. But we can go right through November now, sometimes into December. So as long as you have, decent temperatures, 50 to 55, good to go.
and as we get closer to that, I guess the contractor and the borough some combination would be reaching out to local residents to let them know when it's gonna happen.
Yeah, as we get closer, we'll send out a notice, which we did on the other 3 roads, Mercer, Walnut, and Newell, saying, letting them know that the referendum will be in place after we pave those roads. So if you need to make any connections to utilities, now's the time to do it. So those notices went out probably about 3 weeks ago.
And that's 5 years
5 years
before you can cut the road. Okay, got it.
Can I ask a quick question? What is that gonna look like for people who live on Hart Avenue? Like the whole road is closed or what happens then?
No. We'll do it in bite-sized pieces. There may be times when there's gonna be delays because we're gonna have major equipment in the roadway. There may be times where we have to actually shut a section of the road down. During the day.
Got it. So you just like move your car outside of the section
Yes.
that's being done in it? Okay,
Yes,
got it.
And what we have to do is part of the engineering plan is to do the stages to make it work.
Yeah,
And then also to come up with a approved detour plan.
Okay.
And we'll make sure everybody's aware of the closures.
thanks.
Thank you. I'll open the meeting to the public for questions or comments on ordinance 883, both in person and then online.
Good evening, Aaron Twitchell, I live on Hart Avenue, actually. I have a specific question. There's at least 2 kids whose buses pick them up in front of their homes on Hart Avenue. In the past, when you've done this, are provisions made for those bus stops? Will we be notified how to kind of negotiate those pickups and drop-offs?
Yeah, we do our best to try to allow the buses in. So we'll have police out there and they'll know that we can allow the buses in. There may be some periods where you may have to walk the children up 3, 4, 5 houses for the pickup, but we work with the school system also to let them know what our schedule is gonna be like.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions about this in person here at Bill Hall, or again, don't see any raised hands online? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to close the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Next, I'll look for a motion to adopt ordinance 883.
Second.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. McCullough?
Yeah.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Lanius?
Yes.
All right, next, same routine, but ordinance 884 for our kind of annual budget appropriation limits and cap bank ordinance. Ready if you could.
Ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 48:4-45/2014.
Diane, you want to do this explanation?
Sure. So every year we adopt this ordinance. It allows the borough to increase its in-cap appropriations by 3.5 instead of the amount established by the state, which is 2.5. Doesn't mean we have to. We bank it and keep it in case we need it. And it does expire after 2 years, but it allows you the maximum flexibility in preparing a budget, both the current year and future years. It's important to our budgeting process.
And there's no downside to it, right?
Yeah.
With that, I have to open the meeting again to the public for discussion or questions on ordinance 884. Both in person, seeing no one coming up, or online by raising hands. Seeing none, I will take a motion to close the meeting to the public.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I.
For a motion to adopt 884.
I'll second.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. McCullough?
Yeah.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Lanius?
Yes.
Next, item 11, this is our last ordinance, public hearing and second reading, but for 885, which is our revised street opening permits, which sounds like it's just in time for us to start paving some of these streets.
Right.
An ordinance of the Borough of Hopewell, County of Mercer, New Jersey regarding excavations and road openings in municipal streets and amending chapter 8 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Hopewell, 1975.
So Doug, I believe the several small roads of people who are being paved soon know all about this because they just got a letter about it, but I want to remind everyone again what this is about.
Yeah, we're gonna put in place a 5-year moratorium. If someone needs to open the road, for any reason, any of the utility companies or anybody, they'll have to come to the borough and ask for permission to open the road. And we also strengthen the ordinance by putting in how the repairs have to be made. There's a certain standard to the way the road has to be put back. They have to infrared all the seams. And, they have to file paperwork with us to say how they're gonna repair that, and we send out an inspector. We also get a maintenance bond from them that we hold for a year. So should the patch fail, we give them the opportunity to come back and redo it, or we use their bond money to make the repair ourselves. There's also a fee involved, and it's a graduating fee. So when you're in year 1, it's the maximum. The fee is $2,500. If you're in year 5, it's $500 to get the permission to open the road. And those funds will be put into a dedicated fund that we use for road projects. Could be spot repairs, things, stormwater basins that need to be repaired, the road services, things like that.
This is, Doug, this is a huge improvement in this, and this is your baby. You conjured this up, so thank you. It's a really nice contribution. I think the bond and all these things, making sure this thing gets done correctly and having a better established procedure for this. We used to have a road moratorium, but I don't think we had that much detail beyond that, right? So this is great. Thank you.
Thank you. Here. With that, no apologies. This is just the first meeting, so I would love to take a motion to introduce 886.
Would you love to introduce it?
I'm sorry, 885.
Oh, yeah.
And apologies, I've skipped this. I skipped down to ARP funds. I'm already want to talk about the
Oh, I'm sorry.
DPW. So with apologies, open the meeting to the public.
All right.
Hello, Phoenix Nutter, 16 Seminary Avenue. At the risk of being overly pedantic, on page 4, I noticed that there was a typo that changed the meaning of something from what I assume it to be intended. At the top of the page, subsection H of 8-8.6. The first word is it, and I presume that it is intended to be if blasting is required. So, that's it.
Yes.
Okay.
We don't want to mess up something. Kind of important to get there.
Thank you. Well, we have any other comments or questions in person, or again, I'll ask online to raise your hand. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting to the public. So moved. Second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Krista. All in favor?
Aye.
And now I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 885
Move it, please.
with that
Yes, with that change.
With
With the,
the
if
correction.
not it.
non-material change.
Second.
Okay.
Ms. Hook,
Yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. McCullough.
Yeah.
Ms. Weaver,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Apologies, I was really trying to jump to item 12 before, here we started now. Ordinance 886, about our DPW facility project, ready?
An ordinance of the Borough of Hopewell and Mercer County, New Jersey, authorizing as a general improvement renovations to the Public Works facility and appropriating $199,498.27 therefore from American Rescue Plan grant.
Thank you. Now, Doug, I think we talked about, we're gonna try to have at our June meeting, more information about this, perhaps our architect and some visuals about what we're thinking about with this project. This is the first step about some pieces of the funding, that will allow us to have some long needed, repairs and improvements to our public works facility. Doug, anything beyond that?
We're using the 1.2 that's already been bonded for. We're adding this 197 to it, 197K to it, and then we're also gonna need some additional funds from an ordinance that's already, a funding ordinance that's already been approved. So I'll work with Diane on that and.
Then ARP, that's American Rescue Plan, that's a federal program that we have got some funding for, and we'll allocate a piece of it to this project.
It gets us a step closer to critical improvements, repairs, both to public works.
Yep.
Long overdue, so wonderful.
Look for a motion to introduce 886.
Second.
Ms. Hook,
Enthusiastically, yes.
Mr. Mackey,
Yes.
Ms. McCullough.
Yeah.
Ms. Weaver.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
All right, our next item is our 2024 municipal budget. Before we get into the formal parts of it, there's several resolutions, and this is unique in local government. Usually it's just ordinances that have their own public hearing for budgets. We actually will have a separate public comment again for this item as well. But I'd like to hand things over to Doug and our administrator, and Diane, our CFO, to kind of walk everyone through the highlights. And I know, Doug, you had a few visuals. Let me know when you'd like people to see them.
Yeah, if we could put those up, that'd be great.
Shouldn't have promised something that I wasn't immediately prepared to do. So let me, apologies, do that, and then I also have to figure out. You know, that was ambitious to think that that was gonna do what I wanted it to do, so one more time, and then I'm going to say these things out loud so they happen, but I'm gonna share the screen so people online can see it as well. And that is now happening, so. Doug, the floor is yours.
Okay. So do we have the one with the breakdown, the bar?
We do, just there.
Okay. So this is a breakdown of our 2024 budget. Just shows the different things that make up your total tax bill. So the regional school makes up 54%, almost 55% of the budget. The borough's portion is 23%. The county's portion is 20%. The fire district is 2.1, and open space is 0.3% of the budget. So that's how we arrive at the total budget. And you can see the dollar amounts there, you know, 6,000 for the school. Our budget's 2.5, and the county's very close to us. So that's pretty much the breakdown for that. And then we're gonna have a budgeting, a tax increase of 3.5 cents. Our budget would bring our tax rate to 74.9 cents. Within the 24 budget, these are some of the items that are included in the budget, either in the form of paying cash for them or servicing the debt for these projects. So we're in the process of doing the Newell Place water main replacement that actually started today. We're doing the Newell Place road, that road is being completely reconstructed. We have Walnut Street that's being reconstructed this year. Mercer Street is gonna be a mill and pave. Hart Avenue that we talked about is mostly a mill and pave. There are some areas that need reconstruction and some curbing work. But the lion's share of it is mill and pave. We did the well pump replacement already on well number 4. We have leak monitoring going on for our complete system. And we also have, inside this budget is we're repairing the 4 pretty major leaks on East Broad Street. And we want to make sure we get those done before the county comes in and paves Broad Street, which they're looking to come in August to do that. So we want to make sure we get that done. Also on Broad Street, we have 13 sanitary sewer, the castings need to be replaced. That'll help with our infiltration issues. So all 13 of those will be done. And again, ahead of the paving, we're getting ready for the paving. Railroad station exterior restorations, we're looking to start that on May 15th. So that'll be great. Public Works facility that we just introduced some funding for. We're also going to try to get that started this year. Definitely out to bid, and again, with the weather we've been having, we could probably get some of the work done this year. And we have quite a few stormwater basins in our roadways that need to be repaired. We had some increases, some pretty major increases this year to our budget that we had to account for. Our Hopewell Township Police was up 73,000 plus. The Board of Health was up 11,000. Mercer County Recycling went up 23,000 and change. And we're out to bid for solid waste. May 22nd is the bid opening, and we anticipate the price going up, so we estimated 23,000 for that. We also we needed to do some work around our IT systems, cybersecurity. So we're upgrading some of our equipment. We needed some equipment upgrades right here in the borough for internet and other items. We had some salary decreases. 2024 salaries were down 37 over 23, and that was due to the interims and the search. You know, those things are down. They were all charged to the salaries. And our general engineering is down. What we're doing is we're making sure that we charge the engineering to the projects instead of just general engineering of everything going back to the projects. We still need money for general because there's things that we need to do that don't fall within a specific project, or sometimes we need some seed money to get some engineering going to things like when we applied for the grant for the walking path. You know, we need to provide them with some level of engineering. So that goes into the general. If we're lucky enough to get the grant, then we just move those expenses into the fund for the grant. So that's what that's for. So the 3.5 cent increase, what it means for our homeowners is a home that's assessed at $300,000. It's an increase of $26.25 quarterly for a total annual increase of 105. And you can see we broke it down 400, 500. And it's 400 is 35, 140 for the year. 500,000 is 4375, 175 for the year. 600, 5250, and 210. And 750,000 is $65 a quarter, and 262 a year, and $1 million home would be $87.50 a quarter, or $350 for the year. So, Diane, is there something you'd like to?
I just want to point out some of our financial, state. We always talk about the fund balance. Our fund balance is very healthy. We did use, $630,000 in this budget for revenue. But fairly certain that we'll return that as we have in the past. And our percentage of collection is 98%. It's always around 98 to 99, thanks to Reggie. That helps we have a healthy cash flow. And our net valuation seems to hold pretty solid. It's down a little bit, but not much. And our debt ratio at this time with all the projects we talked about is 2.62, which 3.5 is the max. So, we're good with that. I think it's a good budget. We kept all our services and added a few projects, and for 3.5 cents, I think that's a very good budget.
Thank you both for work on this. I certainly agree. I'm particularly, and your explanation makes sense to me, but I'm just reminding ourselves that we did do an increase for our employees this year, that is, hits in this next fiscal year. And even with that, we're a little lower because of those interim costs. So I appreciate kind of thinking about that, because this is not representing that we're paying our employees less. We actually did a 4% increase this year, because of cost of living, we put a lot of thought into that. So I'm pleased actually that even year over year, we're still down a little bit, even by doing right by our employers best we can. So thank you guys. Certainly any questions from the council, now's the time.
No, I think that's very informative. Thank you. Very good description.
So barring any other questions, I'll open the meeting to the public for on our 2024 budget. See no one in person. I'll remind anyone online to push the raised hand button if you'd like to be recognized. And seeing none, I will entertain a motion to close the meeting to the public.
I'll move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, Reggie, do we have to do these? First time mayor, long time caller, right? Do each one of these resolutions need to be done individually, or can I take one motion on all three?
I would.
Individually?
Individually.
Okay, so first I'd like to entertain a motion on 2024-60, which is the budget itself.
I'll second.
We do it with roll calls, okay?
No, I'll just vet the budget.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So do you want to do 61?
Oh, all right, sure, we can put them all together, absolutely, I'll take a motion on 61 as well. All
I'll second again.
right, then I'll similarly for 62, which is the actual adoption of the budget.
I'll move.
Okay.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. McCullough?
Yes.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and particular thanks to Doug, your team, and Diane for your work on this. I know it got started, with having a new administrator coming in when we did. I know we kind of had to hit the ground running on this, and you guys really did, so much appreciated for everything.
Can I add something? I just want to say thanks to Doug and Diane for sitting down with all of us and going through the budget with us. That was really, really helpful and much appreciated. So thank you for.
Absolutely.
Next, we have our consent motion, resolution 63 through 68. If anyone has a particular one they'd like to comment on or pull out for discussion, certainly entertain that now. Otherwise, I'm happy to take a motion to approve by consent 63 through 68.
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor of the omnibus motion to approve resolutions 2024-63 through 68?
I'm gonna roll call that. Cameron. Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. McCullough?
Yeah.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Next, item 15, motion to approve the claims for payment.
I'll move.
Second,
I'll second
all
that.
right, the guy.
Ms. Hook?
Yes.
Mr. Mackey?
Yes.
Ms. McCullough?
Yeah.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Okay, next we have three proclamations we want to recognize this evening. First, for National Bike Safety Month coming up next month.
This one, it's my.
Oh, apologies.
Right now.
We're right in it.
We're living it.
And I know there are several events coming up that I'm sure we'll hear about during liaison reports as well. The second proclamation on the 16th, there is an event at Howell Farm that Timberlane Middle School is doing to dedicate a second witness stone in Hopewell Valley, similar to the one on West Broad Street in front of the old school meeting house. So the proclamation thanking and honoring them for their efforts with that project. And finally, on May 11th at Woolsey Park, the mayors from across Hopewell Valley are having an event at 10:30 to honor first responders, amongst other things. It is also the grand opening of the band shell there and a cultural festival, but select first responders from all three municipalities are being honored, and is really will be an honor to recognize former Chief John Novak Sr. for his years of service, including 7,000 responsive calls to duty for him, and Lieutenant Luke Morehouse. And on the EMS side, he is responsible, among other things, recruiting the last year 42 new EMS volunteers to our fire and EMS department, and a saving life of a child last year as well from drowning. So we are amongst some really special people, and anyone who's available to join us on the 11th is certainly welcome, in addition to this proclamation here this evening. Next, move to our council and liaison reports. Samara, you want to start? We could, if you have it up, we certainly can, if you'd like to do the bike safety month, we can happily read that into the record. Absolutely.
Okay, I need to find this one.
Do you have a
I
copy?
thought you were
there?
gonna.
No worries.
And this proclamation was drafted by Brad Evans from the TV staff.
So again, proclamation for National Bicycle Safety Month. Whereas the Borough of Hopewell prides itself on being a vibrant pedestrian and bicyclist friendly and eco-conscious community. Whereas bicycling is a healthy, affordable and sustainable transportation option that benefits both individuals and the environment. And whereas bicycling is a popular recreational activity that allows residents and visitors alike to enjoy the scenic beauty of our town's country roads and byways. And whereas encouraging more people to bike around town has direct benefits to our local merchants, who see increased foot traffic and sales when residents and visitors arrive on two wheels. And whereas supporting bicycle safety not only protects riders, but also enhances the overall safety and accessibility of our streets and sidewalks for pedestrians moving through the community. And whereas all road users, including motorists, have a shared responsibility to look out for one another and accommodate each mode of transportation in a courteous, safe, and patient manner. Now, therefore, Hopewell Borough Council does hereby proclaim the month of May 2024, not June, apologies for the slip of work, as National Bicycle Safety Month, and we call on all members of our community to participate in this important observance. We encourage everyone to, as bicyclists, ride smart, always wear a properly fitted helmet, obey all traffic signs and signals, use front and rear lights, reflectors, and bright clothing to increase visibility, and yield to pedestrians and pass them with care. And as pedestrians and good partners, stay alert, use crosswalks appropriately, and help bike riders navigate our streets securely. And as motorists, slow down and enjoy our town. Share the road as required by law, remain alert for bicyclists, wait to pass until safe, and uphold New Jersey's 4-foot safe passing law, requiring at least 4 feet of clearance when overtaking cyclists. By working together to prioritize bicycle safety, we can make Hopewell Borough an even better place to live, work, and play. So let's get out, get active, and enjoy the ride. In witness thereof, we hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of Hopewell Borough to be affixed this 2nd day of May 2024, and I'm literally going to sign it as we speak.
I think Brad just really nailed that. He did such a good job.
Of course, apologies for not suggesting the option. With that, we'll go into our council liaison reports. Samara, you wanna start?
Sure. So Open Space Advisory met, this month, and we were really lucky, sorry. We had Cecile Murphy from Green Acres there, with the, Department of Environmental Protection. She's the Bureau Chief for Nonprofit Assistance Program. Talking about some changes for 2025, and while they weren't ready to share a lot of specifics around those, one of the things that they were able to share is that there is a hope to make the process of acquiring properties that are more complicated and expensive to be able to happen a little more seamlessly for municipalities. There was some discussion as well on the requirement of public access to properties, and a clarification that trails aren't required for simple acquisitions, but that they're required only with easements. That said, public access to threatened certain species access is not required, so just a couple updates from the DEP there on some of the rules. A lot happening with Department of Health. One thing that we did decide, we met this week, or this month, last week, is that the food licensing fee will not be increased for this year. There was some discussion around that. I know I talked about it in my liaison report in January, but the decision was that that would not be the right thing to do at this time. Also, blood pressure screenings will no longer be held at Borough Beans. They'll be at the senior center and the health department. You can reach out to the health department for more information on that. May 9th, there's a COVID booster clinic. It's open to everyone, but it's been predominantly advertised to our senior population. Just so everyone knows, they are seeing, as we get further into COVID just becoming a part of our lives, an increase of cases in the summertime. So it doesn't have that same thing with like the flu we see more in the winter. Really, it's a year-round illness. They put out as well, I know I talked about this in January, a flyer on community cats, also feral cats. It's a big issue in Hopewell Borough. The animal control officer and our health department and a veterinarian that they were working with as well put together a really helpful flyer on community cats that talks about trap, neuter, return, or TNR, how to recognize if a cat has been neutered and returned. It'll have a clip and it's a year. And if there's any questions around that, you can reach out to animal control. Should I give the number? Sure. 609-537-0278. If you do see, they are saying, if you do see a cat, it has their ear clipped, that it is not a reason to call animal control. It's not something that they have the ability to do right now. If the cat has been neutered and released, it should not be a danger to the community. It's not going to be reproducing, and it's okay to consider it a community cat. Just a couple more things, sorry. Healthy Home Seminar will be held on May 17th from 10 to 11 a.m. There'll be radon kits available for free. This is also geared and has been advertised to our seniors, and that'll be at the Hopewell Township building. And in early June, I'll be meeting with our health officer as well as representatives from Pennington Borough and Hopewell Township to talk about some valley-wide initiatives that we can look at for all three municipalities so that we're not duplicating efforts throughout the municipalities. Lastly, the updated social services brochure, which is really awesome. It's on the Department of Health website. It has been updated for 2024, and that'll be out in a week or so at the latest, the end of this month. If I lastly have one more thing, sorry. We'll also be working on putting together an epidemiological profile for our community, which will help us learn more about our community, who we serve, and focus and where to focus the Department of Health efforts and work on in a meaningful way as a board and as a department. I'm done. I have an you said food licenses will not, the cost will not increase.
Will not increase.
I understand that that is at least in part thanks to you.
Well, we all talked about it,
But you put up a big fight.
we do pay significantly less in Hopewell Borough than surrounding municipalities right here and surrounding municipalities everywhere. We pay a lot less, our restaurants, and so it wasn't something initially, it seemed like it was absolutely the right thing to do. Obviously, after the conversation around water and how that's going to impact our businesses, I did bring that to the Board of Health when we met, and the decision was made unanimously.
Thanks for standing up.
How do you want to go next?
Sure.
So the EDC, cruise night, reminder, cruise night is May 10th with a rain date of the 17th, and it runs from 5 to 8 p.m. The borough planters have all been planted with native plants by Sauerland Conservancy volunteers. They're small now, give them time, they will grow and flourish. There are a few planters that we're gonna move around, but, we currently have 5 or 6 unsponsored planters. If anyone does still want to, honor a community member or someone with a planter, the sponsorships are $190 for the full year. We are still working on the parking ordinance, and so we hope to bring that before council soon. And moving on to Sustainable Jersey, Sustainable Hopewell Borough, Green Team, whatever you want to call it. So our kind of impromptu crew we've named ourselves Sustainable Hopewell Borough. We're doing the things like the plastic recycling and whatnot that you've seen. We're working on educational information for sustainable lawn care. There are a group of us that will be attending the Sustainable Jersey Summit tomorrow. That's a full day event that we're going to together, so we can report back. We did hold our first community zero waste potluck. It was very well attended. I felt for a first event, we had about 20 adults and a handful of children as well at the train station. We hope to have a second one in May. We will announce that date via the borough email when we have it. It will probably be in Gazebo Park since the train station will be under work. And I just actually spoke to Barbara Mary today at the library, who's also very enthusiastic. So we hope to partner with the library, which will help get the word out about it even more. Our plastic film recycling is starting to take off. That is upstairs in the lobby. And the library is also going to be helping us spread the word about that. The rule of thumb, if you can stretch it, yes. If it crackles or crunches, no. And a reminder to everyone that Bulky Waste Day and Yard Sale Weekend are coming up at the beginning of June. And to try to be mindful when you use bulky waste and not to put things that could be donated or recycled or used, because bulky waste does go to a landfill. And so to just, we will be sharing more educational information about that. And, thanks on behalf of the EDC and Sustainable Jersey, both groups were very happy to see the social media go live this past month. So that was the communication team, which is a team, and that's it.
All right. Thank you very much. And I'll say that the reaction to I don't know if there's not a lot of places to recycle plastic like that, but the reaction is very, it's almost like one of those World War II movies where the sky is full of airplanes all of a sudden. Now this, you've kind of provided a place to release that waste that didn't exist. So thanks so much.
And you do not need to be a resident of Hopewell Borough to drop off your plastic.
Sherry, you want to go next?
Sure. I will start with the fire department and EMU. The fire department responded to 25 calls in March. Seems like a lot more when you live across the street from it. As a reminder, the pancake breakfast is this Sunday from 8 a.m. to noon. It's their biggest fundraiser. So even if you don't have kids, you should come and have some pancakes. And
Wait, are pancakes just for kids?
they're not.
Okay.
No.
Not anymore.
Trying to be like. They are happily replacing styrofoam with paper cups this year, so that's a nice change. They are hopefully on Sunday going to announce the Adopt a Hydrant program, which I may have mentioned before. So quick recap, if you have a hydrant in your yard, you can adopt it. And really all that means is you're going to clear any debris, and especially when it snows, clear the snow away, and if there's something wrong with it, you report it. But I think they're even going to provide paint, so you can paint it and make it, your own little thing. So hopefully they're going to announce that tomorrow.
You don't get to open it though.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. Thank you. May 19th kicks off National EMS Week, and the Hopewell EMU is hosting a family picnic on May 19th, which I believe is a Sunday, from 1 to 4. And the bays will be open, and the ambulances will be open, so bring kids and they can look around and just come meet your local EMTs. Senior Advisory Board update, and Ryan could probably talk about this, because the senior/community center planning is really moving forward now. The YMCA is closed on the land, is that, am I saying that right?
Absolutely. Also, though, the Y, who I forgot to shout out to them last month, but the second screen is on loan from the Y as well. That reminded me to thank them for letting us borrow it for our meetings. But yeah, there's 14 acres behind the ShopRite on Reed Road that was purchased for the project, and design continues by the township. And this past Monday, the township referred the next steps of things to allow for it to be essentially the zoning change, more or less, to allow the site to be used for a community center.
Yeah, so we got to see some draft architectural plans, but they were very draft-like, so, but there was something on paper, so it was very exciting. There are 2 upcoming programs, one tomorrow here at Borough Hall, Home Heartbeats, which is a company that consults with people in their home in case they want to age in place, and looks around and identifies trip hazards and things like that. And then Friday, June 7th at 10 a.m. is Mercer County Contact, which does daily wellness calls. Shade Tree is so busy right now. It's crazy. We went from not really having much to do to having way too much to do. So first thing we're doing is updating the Hopewell Borough Forestry Management Plan, so that Reggie can help us renew our Tree City certification. But that is a very sizable document. So the plan is to start working now, and the goal is to submit it by the February deadline of next year. So we're gonna start as a committee now, and then we'll circle back with you, Doug, and you, Reggie, to put final touches on it and make sure that it works for a sustainable Jersey. Mayor, you had asked us to create a community-facing memo / FAQ for the new tree ordinance. And Lisa was helpful and sent me some links, but it turns out no one really has this anywhere. And I actually talked to the DEP today, and they're like, well, we don't have anything. So we might just be the first people to do it. So that'll be exciting. Yeah, so work on some stuff. I mean, like Princeton has something that we can use, but
it's not.
no, it's not like a thing, because it would be nice to have our DPW guys have a thing. They can leave someone if they see them trying to cut a tree down, so, yeah.
That's like a 20-page ordinance.
Yeah, exactly. Our tree fund program, logistics and setup, that's another thing on our list. And the last thing, and I wanted to bring it up a little bit now so we can talk about it, is tree related and sidewalk related. So as you know, our municipal ordinance is that you as homeowners are responsible for the sidewalk in front of your house. It doesn't seem fair, but borough tree is growing to the point where it's disrupting your sidewalk for you to have to pay for it. So we were talking about this a little bit. I was looking around other towns. Princeton, Rahway are 2 examples of towns that say if your tree roots are disrupting your sidewalk by a significant amount, let us know, we'll come out, look at it, and then the borough will, or the municipality will help or take over the cost of the sidewalk. So thought it was fair to bring up here to see what people thought, and Doug, I don't know if you had anything you want to add.
Yeah, we want to impress that it's borough trees.
Yeah, yes,
So
so.
the tree between the sidewalk and the
side.
street.
Yes, that's the only.
Yeah, if it's on an owner's property and it's on the other side of the sidewalk, then it would still remain the
Correct.
owner's responsibility.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
So, there might be an opportunity there depending on, I mean, if you have a list of places where there are issues.
Yeah, Alan's putting it together and there's a
And
lot.
so when we have road projects, if they're doing concrete work, one of the things we do is, people who want to replace their sidewalks can contract separately with that contractor when they're already kind of mobilized. In other words, they're here, you generally get a better rate than if you just bring them over to do that one thing. So who knows, there might be an opportunity here, if we have a list that we're taking care of at the borough, to have that as a line item or somehow coordinate that with another mobilization for a contractor that we have, just a thought, we can, it's just an efficiency that we. can
Oh, I
do.
actually brought that up a while ago, but I think it was when Nancy was here and it seemed like that was a no-go. So if we can revisit that, that would be amazing.
Sounds like we will.
Yeah.
And I think there does need to be something in place, though, that someone has to go look at the sidewalk,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Normally,
So, yeah, I don't know who
Yeah.
is that engineer and.
Ultimately, something like this, takes staff time, resources, both to find the right mix of which things we can take on and to actually implement it. So, they go in eyes wide open about what the costs are, but, sounds like a good thing to add to the list to investigate.
And the other,
Road list.
yeah, and the other thing is to just look at strategies for kind of easing that physical conflict, whether it's, coming around in a curve or,
Yes.
in our case, we just put down brick. So you can adjust the bricks, but that's not something the borough's gonna do, but I mean, but there's probably some ways of, because, it'll keep happening if the tree gets bigger, which we want it to, but.
So I'm thinking out loud, I guess as this progresses, I see both shade tree and perhaps buildings having maybe involvement, because it sounds like these will be places that are borough roads, I suppose, right, with.
Yeah, so
Survey would be-
right away,
Yeah.
not so much buildings, but yeah.
Yeah, Val's,
So we don't have a
the
committee that does that.
Val's putting together an inventory, that's a great first step.
Yeah.
And we can go out and look at them, see, we can prioritize them, see which ones are really the worst, and then we'd have to come up with a financial game plan to,
Yeah, yeah.
to tackle these. Because you have the tree removal, stump removal, and and then the sidewalk itself. Right.
So I know the list is underway. I'm not sure if they finished it, but, so there's more than.
Yeah. Good.
That's it?
All right, thank you. Dave, what else?
Sure. This may be a little, not necessarily in chronological order. Collected our quarterly PFAS sample on April 15th from well number 4. And got the results back below the standard. Once again, it has now been, we have 8 consecutive quarterly samples, 2 straight years below the current NJDEP standard, which is a good thing. On April 8th, the US EPA signed the final rule regulating PFAS nationwide, which is a new thing. And the standard that we will have to adhere to in the future will be 4 parts per trillion instead of 13. So, and everyone has to do that. But that standard doesn't take effect for 5 years. There's a 3-year monitoring period, a 5-year phase in on the actual enforcement of the rule. By that time, we will either have a treatment system in place or will have sold the utility, whichever direction the community decides to go. So the EPA thing doesn't affect us right now, other than perhaps to broaden the list of things that we report for our quarterly sampling. So far so good on that. A big development this month was replacing the pump in well number 4. I've been tracking every gallon that comes out of the well and every gallon that we buy now, and actually looking at, I have a retrospective analysis going back to 2006. So I can look at trends and see if something's changing. And what was changing was the output from the well had dropped during the first quarter of this year by about 25% compared with the first quarter of last year. And all other things being about equal. Beginning of the year, a lot of rain, usually we get a lot of water out of the well. So something was wrong. We knew the well pump was old. We've been planning to replace it for a while, but we kind of accelerated that process. And what we got out of it is a lot more water than we ever imagined. Historically, we've been getting about 80 gallons per minute out of that well, and it dropped to about 60. We're now getting between 110 and 115. So that is huge. And the significance of it is this. On one hand, we've been fixing leaks across town and reducing our overall system demand, which just brings down the total amount of water that we use. At the same time, if we raise the amount of water we produce from well number 4, it now reduces the amount of water that we buy, and that is the critical thing in terms of our operating costs. So this well replacement cost $25,000. it remains to be seen what a sustainable yield is with this new pump, and that is if we go through a drought, we may be limited by the well somewhat, but if we can keep up the current output, that pump will be paid for within probably 2 or 3 months by the money that we'll be saving on our water bills. So that's a big deal. And I'll have to say the pump and the piping look like an old man's arteries. It was really something. Let's see. So, we met, what was it, yesterday, the day before, the water supply committee meeting to talk about our presentation for May 13th. Lots going into that. We're gonna have some information for our professionals, both our fiscal advisor and our engineer. I'm gonna be putting together a lot of stuff. We'll all be putting together things to basically explain where we are, where we might be going, what the different scenarios are financially between keeping our system and what that would look like in terms of rates and costs, and selling the system and what the benefits of that might be, to put it all out there during the meeting. And we'll obviously spend as much time as we need to at that town hall meeting to explain what we need to explain and answer any questions. So lots of effort going into that. We had 2 meetings with the NJDEP on April 30th, 2 hours apart. The first one was with the folks that we're working with on the grant application. This is the Emerging Contaminants Small and Disadvantaged Communities Grant. We put in, this is back in February, a number to them for $2.34 million for treatment systems for wells 4 and 6. And that process is still active. We're considering the possible sale of the system, but we don't know where that's going. So part of the purpose of the meeting was for them to give us an update on their interactions with the US EPA from whence the money comes. They had a couple of technical questions which we answered, and we agreed that we're going to put a pause on the grant process for the next month until we get a better idea of where we are, and meet again on June 6th. But as always, they're interested in doing nothing else but helping us. They are amazing. The second meeting was our pre-application meeting for the Water Infrastructure Protection Act process that we would follow should we proceed with the sale of the utility. And there were, I think, 5 people on our team and 20 people from various agencies on the call. And I commented at the beginning, it's a good thing we're doing this by Zoom. We would have had to rent out a conference hall. But there were people from the state controller's office, the Board of Public Utilities, NJDEP. It was mostly about the mechanics of the process, what the requirements are, but also we had some interesting discussions with people that were offering to help and provide resources in terms of information and even potential financing options. And again, the resounding message from the DEP is if there are ways that we can help you to, keep the system afloat, we'll do it. They know that they've also, when we requested this meeting, I sent them a copy of our fact sheet on our water rate increases so they could see just what our situation is. I thought that was an important thing for them to see. And the same day, we actually received an administrative consent order for the DEP. This is something that we've been going back and forth on drafts with the agency since February, I guess. And I mentioned that during the meeting. I said, oh yeah, what's going on with the ACO? And then 2 hours later, they sent it to us. So we have 14 days to either execute it or get an extension or make some changes. I think we may make some changes, but basically this reflects a lot. This is an administrative document that if we proceed forward with treatment systems for PFAS, it incorporates, it's predicated on the idea that we would get this grant for the treatment systems, and it lays out a timeline for putting in treatment and addressing the regulatory aspects of it. It's a binding commitment, and it's very important to get the language right. And there are elements of it that may change if we decide to pursue the sale of the system. So we'll get together with Lisa and go through that. But by and large, they accepted most of our comments. I saw a lot of language that looked awfully familiar. So that was good. We, as Doug mentioned, we received bids for leak repairs at 4 locations under Broad Street. And this is a big deal. these are all leaks that were detected by our leak detection contractor that is monitoring his leak loggers every month and generating reports. So these are ones that you can't see at the surface, you can only detect them with instruments. They're not of the magnitude of the really large leak that we found last year, the one that cost us over $80,000. But these are, supposedly less than 5 gallons per minute each, but there are 4 of them, so collectively, they could be significant. So just as a little bit of math, 1 gallon per minute over a year is equivalent to $5,000 worth of purchased water. So even the small ones count. So that's an important thing to do, and that will reduce our demand in the system even further. And I think that's it for water. Public Works, I don't know, Doug, whether Alan brought this to you, but I mentioned Alan, I said, let us know if you think you might need a temp worker this summer to help with the load. I don't know if we have the ability to do that, but last summer they were really overwhelmed, I think, and that was partly because they were down a person for a while, but apparently we, in the past, sometimes hired seasonal workers, so I don't know whether we have that in the budget or not.
We do not.
We don't, unfortunately, okay. Well, anyway, it was a nice dream. Glad to hear about the American Rescue Fund money to help us move forward on the DPW building. And finally, planning board, really, Brian, you already mentioned this. I mean, Doug, you did, that we reviewed the stormwater ordinance for compliance with the master plan. We had one certificate of appropriateness, and that was pretty much it. Did I miss anything? No.
I think that's good. I think that's it for planning, certainly.
Yeah. So there it is. Thank you.
Before I get into traffic stuff, I just wanted to mention that you all might recall that Sky Morehouse used to run a park cleanup in the borough on the first weekend of May. And Marion Labos of PDSAC is sort of trying to continue that tradition. So I think they're starting at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning at the park. Your whole weekend is planned. Go to the park on Saturday, clean up. Sunday, go eat pancakes, celebrate. There you go. So for traffic stuff, PDSAC, we met on April 15th. We reviewed the proclamation that Mayor Kennedy just read by Brad Evans. We also reviewed our borough roads report, which we'll be moving forward with soon. We're currently planning to have a table at cruise night in front of Sourland Cycles, and we'll just be there to hand out some pedestrian and bike safety information, hear your concerns about pedestrian and bike safety in the borough. Stop by, say hi, please. Melbourne put up the yard signs that you've probably seen, the Drive 25 campaign yard signs throughout town that she designed. And our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, May 20th at 7 p.m. And in other pedestrian and bike safety news, as you have probably noticed, the new 25-mile-an-hour signs have been put up throughout the entirety of Broad Street. And also the speed limit on 654, which is West Broad Street outside of town, has been lowered to 35 miles an hour. And I just want to say thanks again to the Hopewell Township Police Department for conducting the education campaign. They've been pulling people over and handing out warnings to drivers who are not speeding excessively. And there will now be a period of increased enforcement in the borough. And we will be having intermittent increased enforcement periods moving forward to maintain our safety gains. So just be aware. And I also want to say that thanks to the Greater Mercer TMA, we will be beginning another campaign of sorts called Street Smarts. And this will include some messaging about pedestrian and bike safety, and also an online survey about local traffic laws. The survey can be found on the website once it goes live. You must be 18 years or older and have permission from a parent or guardian to complete the survey. After the survey is complete, you have the option to enter into a drawing to win a $100 Visa gift card. And some of these are like borough-specific laws, so it's very fun. So you will possibly win some money, but you'll learn while you're doing it. On Wednesday, May 8th, the Hopewell Elementary School and the Greater Mercer TMA will be hosting another walk, bike, and roll to school event. If you want more information, there's a flyer in the back of the room. You can also contact the school. I know that the GMTMA is looking for a couple of volunteers to help them man tables. If anyone here on council is interested in helping, 8 a.m. at HES. And also on Saturday, May 18th, the New Jersey Walk and Bike Coalition will have its 13th annual New Jersey Bike and Walk Summit in Middlesex College in Edison, New Jersey. You have some connections up there. maybe he'll stop by. And I will be a panelist there, in the afternoon for a session called Working with Your Municipality. And lastly, this is not until June, but just getting this out there now, the Little Red Library will be hosting a presentation on bike safety on June 22nd from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. by the Brain Injury Alliance at the Hopewell Presbyterian Church Fellowship Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug, I'm gonna switch things up a little bit, just so you can clean up a little. Would you like to, anything you'd like to add here?
Yeah, I'm just gonna run through this real quick.
Please.
If you want me to stop, just any questions or anything. So I think I mentioned before, we're gonna start the mobilization for the restoration of the railroad station on May 15th. We got the grant application in for the second grant to help to fund that project. That went in on the 18th through the New Jersey Historic Trust. For the Public Works facility, we introduced the 197K tonight. We also spoke with Ronnie. This is a scaled down project. So what we want to do is before our June meeting, get with the building committee and just run through, make sure everybody's on board with the changes we made. We've already met with Alan and Dave to go through it. So they understand what the limitations are and what we're going to be doing. They're on board, but we just want to make sure that, council's on board with all the changes we're making. So we'll schedule that and get that done.
Hey, Doug, can I say one quick thing?
Yeah.
And I know you're going to, but I want to make sure that the second part of the project or third, whatever, doesn't fall off. Because I know those facilities, everything needs to be fixed, and I
Yes.
really appreciate that something's being done. But I just want to make sure that it all gets done eventually, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to put a Band-Aid on it and.
Yeah, the work that we're doing is, really good work.
Yeah.
We're not, the work that we're doing, the buildings that we're addressing, we're not putting a Band-Aid on those. I mean, those are gonna be really, really.
I think it's
really,
great.
really great.
I'm talking about the scaled down part and I.
Yes, because we're not gonna do the office.
Yeah, all right.
We're gonna leave the office the last. Dave and Alan are aware of that.
Perfect. I
Yeah,
just want, I want
Yeah.
them to have a voice.
and, we're gonna make sure they get a roof. So
Great,
it
yeah,
doesn't
that'd be
leak
helpful.
and get the water from coming through the front door.
Great.
Those are two priorities on that building.
Great.
The prior, I don't know, way of looking at it, this essentially accelerates improvements that they need. And I think we're all hopeful that there'll be funds to continue doing that, but this is not, this is all the must-haves.
Yeah, great.
And
I just think nice to have would also be nice for them to have. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the must-haves include the water department office has water coming into it.
Yeah. We're gonna stop.
legally compliant place to put salt.
Yeah.
And there's the garage and every trucks.
Yeah.
And it's,
But it'll be, and they'll have a good garage.
Yeah,
Good workspace.
with lifts and
Yeah, I mean, a
You know.
good one.
portable lifts.
Dave would like it to be called the garage mahal.
Okay, that's fine. We can do that. I don't know if it's gonna be that, but if they want, we can do it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also, David mentioned about the well pump we replaced, but we're also getting, prices. We have another pump down there, a vertical turbine pump that's also 25 years old.
Yeah.
And so the well pump pumps the water into the treatment tanks, and then from there, we need this vertical turbine pump to actually deliver the water to the system. So equally as important.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that that's,
Right.
so we're gonna see about that. We developed roads that we've done by year. I sent that out to everybody. We're gonna need that for a moratorium, but it also lets us know, the years that the roads are paved, and then
Those are great maps.
that helps
Thank you.
us, do our 5-year road plan. And that 5-year road plan, obviously, that's a living document. Things change, but at least it gives us something to work on. So we got those in place. We talked about the water main. So they actually started today. They got across Hart Street. So Hart Street was closed to through traffic for today, but they did the wet tap and they're already, maybe 20%, 25% of the way down Newell. So, probably, in the next week or so, we'll be out of there.
And then on to the leaks. Right.
And onto the leaks, hopefully, they'll mobilize and go right over there. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is great. I mean, the fact that we have the same company doing that, I'm sure.
Yes, that worked out well for us.
So,
For Mercer, Newell, and Walnut, it's a different contractor. They're coming in and, we're hoping to get them in here as early as June first. Clean those roads up. That's probably, maybe a 60-day, 60-dayer, something like that. So we'll be working on that. The Hart Avenue, we really gotta get moving on that. The first phase of the grant, expires on, 12/31/24. So we want to make sure that we get that going. If nothing else, award the contract. So we don't run into any issues with the DOT. So again, our goal is to, get it done this year, and that'll give us 5 roads this year that we're doing, 4 roads that we're doing this year. So in Hart Avenue, that's a big road. We talked about the sanitary sewer castings ahead of the paving. We're gonna get that done. I'm meeting with FEMA, on the 8th, to try to close that up so we can get our FEMA funding for the, Maple Street vault that we did. I'm still waiting for we had a change order on that job. I'm still waiting for the contractor to provide us a breakdown of, the change order, the costs. And then we'll be able to close that out. Talked about the water leaks on Broad. The grant was submitted for the bandstand, walking trail. That went in.
I have one more, and then I'm not gonna interrupt you, but.
Yeah.
Do you have a picture of what that's gonna look like with that surface?
I can get you one, yeah.
That'd be
It
great.
it looks pretty much like asphalt.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it just allows the way, the construction of it allows the water to go through.
yeah,
So instead of having maybe 4 inches of stone under it, may require like 8 to 10 inches of stone. So when the water can go through, it can percolate and get down into the ground.
okay.
Yes, I can get you information on it, sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
The Borough Hall exterior, repairs in the front, the columns are, really need a lot of work and we need some other work done. The quote we got was just beyond our affordability. So I asked for again, another scale down quote, to take care of the railings and the columns. Just to get that underway. So when we get that in, we'll see what we can do on that. We have to address those columns, this year. That's a must. Stormwater basins, we have quite a few that are in really bad shape. But the road is caving in around the basins. We picked the 4 really bad ones, and we're gonna get those done. We already have quotes for that, so we're gonna get those done. One of the insurance requirements, that came in was cybersecurity. We didn't have a cybersecurity plan, so we put one in place. We also held our first cybersecurity training for all the full-time employees, so we did that. Our IT professional came in and ran the class for us. I think he did a really good job. Showed us a lot and after he did the training, Reggie and I stayed behind and met with them about some of the upgrades that he's recommending. Very, very expensive. But to be compliant, you have to do some of these things. So we're just gonna move forward very slowly. We're gonna make the best effort, but it's very expensive, So now we're compliant with the JIP. We sent them down our plan. We've had the training, so our insurance company is very happy with us. Another insurance issue, what we've done in the past is, especially the library will hold one event, let's say in April, and get a certificate of insurance and give it to where they hold their events. And then let that serve as insurance for all the different events during the year. I think that would be an issue if someone got hurt and we didn't have a certificate of insurance for that specific event. So we're going the extra step. If we're doing 20 events, we're gonna get 20 certificates of insurance for that event, just to make sure that we're covered. So, and the JIP has been great, they get them to us and, so there's no issue there, but just gives us a little bit more, makes us feel a little bit more comfortable that we're covered. The 5th and final window was put in at the library, so that job is done. We're working through the transition. We were tier B, now we're tier A, for, stormwater, which means we have to start doing street sweeping. There's a lot of more requirements that we're gonna have to figure out how we're gonna do all this, whether it's a shared service, whether we contracted somebody to come in and do it.
How often will we need to street sweep?
3 times a year. Yeah, so it's, and then cleaning out the basins, it's just a lot more work.
Yeah.
You know, a lot more expense, but, so we're working through that. We did the budget we talked about, our lead paint testing program is underway. We're having a couple bumps in the road with that, trying to get a really good list together. They did send out the cards, so from a borough perspective, we're compliant now with the state mandate, but we want to make sure that our landlords know that to be compliant as well, so we're kind of doing that. I met with the watershed folks out here about our bioswale. I explained to them it's not working, it's flooding our basement, and so they're gonna do some investigative work and see what has to be done, whether it has to be, the materials have to be replaced or whatever.
Did they remove the curb section to open
Yes.
up? They did that.
Yes, as part of that, yeah, there was a disconnect, I think, because when I went through the paperwork, it said that the bioswale was for the collection of the water on the east side, just the east side of the roof.
Right.
But then when we took out the curbing, it's, everything comes sheeting across.
That they took out the curb.
Yes, as part of the project, and they put the stone in there.
But was it ever designed to take that kind of sheet flow from the parking?
They claim yes.
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Well enough.
Yeah.
So the other, I was under the impression, and so was our Department of Public Works, that they would continue to maintain the bioswale. They do not. They do it for the first 2 years, so we own it now, so we're gonna have to come up with a maintenance plan for that. We're not gonna spend any time on it now because they come back and they might have to remove material, put different material down.
Sure.
And I think some of it got silted in because it looks like the middle of the middle of the swale is higher than where the water can get out. Where it fills up, so I think.
So that was my other question was, so there is an outlet in this system?
Yeah, it's right by the storm drain down below near the corner.
Okay,
Yeah, so, but I don't think the water's getting.
right. And it's a pond.
Yeah, so we'll take care of that, and then, that's it, that's all I have.
Thank you, Doug. Quick couple recap things from me. Reggie, yet another new appreciation for what you do, having been at the clerks convention in Atlantic City and speaking to some of them. So again, thank you for everything that you do here in the borough.
You don't wanna.
I now understand why, having seen it. I'll do that. I want to thank Mr. Di Lorenzo from Hopewell Elementary, second grade, and particularly the excellent second grade students, including some people who might be connected here to council for listening and asking such good questions this week. We have 2 pieces of litigation that are up in the air. One of them is slightly less up in the air. Our attorney in the Verizon versus Hopewell Borough litigation, which is a tax appeal from Verizon, the phone folks, so whether they should have to pay. It's about $50,000 a year for the personal property, value of their stuff in town. We have been successful thus far in saying for these years that are under issue now that they do. The New Jersey Supreme Court heard arguments on that this morning. I'm hopeful based on the reaction, but you really can never tell from their reaction that they seem to agree perhaps with us and the appellate division and the tax court that we did the right thing there. I hope that remains the case because the alternative is unfortunately quite expensive for us.
And how long do they usually take to render a decision?
Well, so I want to remind you, what they heard today is a portion of a tax appeal from 2009.
Well, that I know, but.
So they granted certification, the privilege of hearing this case on one limited issue in January. Hearing it now is actually quite quick. Likely a couple of months before there's a decision on that. Lisa, is that, it's hard to, there's no litmus, there's no on the Supreme Court on how quickly they get to things, but generally, it's not, there's no timeline and nothing guaranteed to be immediate. And unfortunately, every result, even agreeing with the trial court and the appellate division in that we were correct in what we did for this tax year. Every result, though, will unfortunately at the moment result in continued litigation. This was only for 1 year, and this will set finally definitively what the process should be and what the standard is for the court to apply. Hopefully, it was done correctly, and then they'll continue to hopefully prosecute the remaining years, and not to discuss litigation strategy, but it is an expensive item with not a lot of return for us. So but I can read into my feeling on that. So hopefully it goes away soon. Similarly, that no scheduling yet in our pilot litigation with Hopewell Township that is under appeal. And at some point it will be scheduled for arguments for the appellate court. Likely at this point, the court does do different things over the summer. So my best guess is if it hasn't been scheduled for argument yet this spring, and it has not, then it might not be done this summer. And that the fall at the earliest would be when it would be heard. But that is a guess. I mentioned the first responder event on the 11th. Again, I cannot say enough about our 2 honorees and the other first responders from around Hopewell Valley. And just to piggyback a little bit of what we said to start this meeting, again, a reminder and that the 13th is our town hall special meeting on our water system. We've had things in Mercy and Hopewell Express, and hopefully you've all gotten a postcard. We think this is important and appreciate everyone's input, and want to have as many people there and thinking and part of this process as possible. So with that, we still do have now's the opportunity. They've heard everything that's happening. One last public comment and question period, both in person. You're welcome to come up, and if people online want to push the raise hand button, you're welcome to do that. So, come on up.
Hello again. I actually wanted to just bring the idea, I am sure that we all are not a fan of the Bradford pear trees that are present throughout the borough. I just wanted to ask the council to push more actively to remove them. There are 3 main reasons. One, they smell terrible.
They really do.
There are other equivalent trees that bloom around the same time, have the same aesthetic effect without that. Number 2, they are wildly invasive and highly detrimental to the local ecology to have around. And thirdly, while I myself do not suffer from this, I am aware of members of the community who suffer from severely debilitating allergies to those specifically causing neurological symptoms every year when they are blooming. My hope is that this is a town that is small enough that the concerns of a single individual can be, cared for in a way that would not be possible with a larger community, but I'm sure that other members of the community would similarly benefit from having other trees present. So I would just request that we try to do something about them, be it implementing a replacement plan or some other such thing. Maybe there's a grant that can be applied for with the end goal of increasing the native plants in town or something like that, that we could use to provide funding to help move forward toward that goal.
Thank you. Ironic that a number of years ago, around the old Princeton Hospital, that's all they had planted around the whole hospital, were pear trees, and it was just choked when you walked in and out of the place. It was terrible.
In addition to being invasive, is having one type of tree. So predominantly is when the next, fortunately, invasive species tend not to be susceptible to blight as some of the native ones are. But when you have a monoculture situation, one thing, gets them, like we have with pin oaks or ash trees, then you're out all of your trees. So perhaps something to go back to shade tree. Thank you so much. I'll put a last call for anyone to push their hand up online by pushing the button.
I just want to say one more thing. It's very hard to be in this room and hear what you all say. I came up as close as I could, but I hope you can remember that this is a meeting that does include all of us. And we can't hear you, or I can't hear you, and you really have to please make an effort to speak loudly enough. Your voices are very soft. You know what you're saying, but I don't know what you're saying. There's a lot of mumbling. And I really would appreciate, I know I'm not here frequently enough to complain often enough. But I really do want to hear what you're saying when I am here, and I think all of us do. So please make an effort to speak up, all of you.
Thank you, Bobby, and I'll say that, while I honestly hadn't heard that much before, it is the second time it's come up in this week, and it is something, we're looking at the equipment and see what options we do have to improve things in this room. So, thank you.
Yes.
So just
Feel
really
free to
remember.
make hand motions when we're too quiet.
I would like it to feel like it's all of our meeting, and not just between you and the table in front of you.
Yes.
Great, well, thank you. With that, seeing no hands online, I'll take a motion to close the meeting to the public.
I'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
I-
And then lastly, I will accept the motion, to adjourn the meeting.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're all for me. We are still on Zoom till I hit the button that I can't find it.
Everything.